When I started, we had a very low proportion of female staff in professional and higher categories. So we have taken a number of measures even before the recruitment already, where to find the female talent that we need for. And we have changed also the way how we craft our adverts to make them more inclusive in the language. So that already has then created that we had more women not only being selected, but the first place you need them to apply in order that they can be considered. So that's how we managed to increase the balance of female staff. This has changed really in a positive way, like in small things you can see it. It's like in interactions. When I came in, I was very puzzled about emails, how they would send emails. So basically, please do this, or actually sometimes by tomorrow I need this document. So there was actually no please even. And now the communication is more considerate. So we have sent out rules how to send out messages, and it was when I came in, it was very much because the chemical, the Convention for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, of course, has a lot of soldiers among the workforce. And you have the soldiers and you have the UN workers. And so to find a way how we can work together in a different way. We are not in the army where, of course, it's a chain in command, it's ranked accounts. And here was really how with influencing, how to speak with people also, how you get people to work in a project that you are doing without having a supervisory role. Because like in the army also, basically the role and the rank commands the order. Here, so we have also worked on how to work with people from different nationalities, how to work in an intercultural team, how to pay attention to your own body language. I feel now that people are more aware. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I think we are moving towards a more inclusive kind of society within your organization. It's true. Also, what we have noticed is not only like the communication style is one thing, but also in my meetings, for instance, when I started to pay attention, I noticed that women were more often interrupted than men during meetings. And so, first of all, you need to raise an awareness. And if you are a woman, so like not to hold back. Sometimes they're holding back because they're in the minority. So the important is also we need to have allies among men, and that's what we have, men that are speaking up. So when you see something, because very often the people don't have bad intentions with the bias. It's just if you are not on the receiving, like for instance, I'm the head of HR, when I speak, people don't interrupt me. So I would not necessarily pay attention when others are being constantly interrupted. So as long as you're not on the receiving end of one of those biases, it's difficult for you actually to realize that you are actually doing it. So the important is to pay more attention, to be more aware, and for women really to speak up, not to take for granted. You come in, there is somewhere a status quo, and not accept the status quo as it is. But that takes courage, and that takes the culture we spoke before. So we need also to have a culture that allows people to speak up. And that is something that we are still building. First of all, I want an organization where everybody feels at home. And I believe that you only can feel at home if you feel safe. So for me, in a team, it's really important that everybody feels safe. And in order to feel safe, you need to have an inclusive culture. And so we are actually working a lot also on managers. So we have anti-discrimination training for managers. We have leading multicultural teams for managers. So we do really a lot of work on managers itself, because at the end of the day, the manager set the tone. And you can try to change, but if the tone is not the right one, then there is a cacophony and it doesn't work. So that's why we are really working a lot on managerial training, awareness training. We are doing unconscious bias training for managers, unconscious bias training for staff. We also have like a specific gender module that is compulsory, mandatory for all staff. So training is really also a very important aspect if you want to change things how they are. And why for me really it's important? For me really it's important because I believe that at the end of the day, the output of an organization, if really everybody feels that they have a place to contribute, is so much better than if you have people who just come along because they come along with the flow but don't really believe in what they do. So at the end of the day, for me, it's also really, we are a non-profit organization, but I can see, speaking of productivity for us is difficult, but I can see that the outputs that we have, our yearly outputs, are so much more, at least the chances that we reach them at the end of the year are so much higher if everybody feels that they can contribute to it. I mean, the differences, you can also see that, like compared to a few years ago, we have less complaints, we have less harassment complaints, we have less like cases that come on my desk as head of HR. So this is one concrete thing where we can measure it. But then there are really small interactions where I can see that things are slowly changing, which is important as well. So I believe that, like, by having a shared goal, a shared vision, really makes it important. So, because many of our, like, who have a military background, they go on missions like in really war zones, where really the conditions, basically, you depend on your team members for your life. And so if you don't trust each other, if you don't create where the team that goes into this conflict zone really trusts each other, then there is also the safety that is not there. And so that's why I think they also realize that they need to have a trust in not only among the small teams, but in the workforce, so that we can also work in situations where it's really not evident to work. So actually, it's, in my opinion, it's an imperative of doing our work and our mandate well.